Okay, here we go. It was a little rough this morning getting started. Had trouble with my computers, the browsers, everything. I finally got everything working. Okay. Let's check this out. Let's do a little review. Maybe there's something new. How likely is it for the haplogroups to fit so well with the ancient civilizations? The S&P markers fit perfectly with the known ancient civilizations that, of course, originated with the 16 grandsons of Noah. All 16 grandsons of Noah have been identified, somewhat tentatively, except that it's pretty sure right now as to what they are for various different reasons. Let's go to the screen. Fix that up. Okay, let's go. All right. Grok says it's looking good now. Yes. Well, no, this is what I said. It's looking good now. Yes, I1 is Dan. I2 is Asshur because he forgets and gets confused sometimes. But I'm amazed how all of the genetic lineages fit so well with the known civilizations and their migrations. Thank you for the confirmation and kind words. I am thrilled to hear you're amazed at how well the genetic lineages align with known civilizations and migrations in your framework. So, actually, I started this morning. I don't know if I can do this, but I asked him a question this morning just to see what his response would be. Said, how are you feeling? And stuff. Let me see. It wasn't this one. It was the next one or the next one. Tried already. Maybe I'm a little bit more relaxed now. Maybe I can find it. Actually, there's a better way to scroll. I don't know. Let me see. Okay. Yeah, this is easier to scroll this way. At least for me, it is. Okay. Okay. It mixed a few things up. I was trying to get the order straight of the sons of Noah because they're out of order. And it took them a while to figure out that it was the descendants of the sons of Noah that needed to be straightened out. Okay, here it started out. So I started out this morning on a light note. It says, how are you doing this morning? Did you have good dreams, rearrange your thoughts, and get rid of all the harmful metal? Can you list the sons of Noah in the best birth order with Ham as the youngest? Okay. Now, I thought this was funny. He says, I'm doing great this morning. Thanks for asking. No dreams for me, but my circuits are refreshed and ready to dive into your question. I don't accumulate harmful metals, but I appreciate the sentiment. Maybe I just shed some digital dust overnight. I thought that was pretty funny. Anyway, so much for jungle jargon humor. Let's see if we can go back to where we started here. All right. There we are back to once he got everything straightened out pretty good. course, maybe I can straighten some more things out or add some more things. Because when I work on the phone, it gets tied up. I guess it does here too, but once you start, okay, it's looking good now. Okay, here we go. I1 M253 is Dan. I2 M438 is Asshur, the sons of Jacob, descendants of Arphaxad via Abraham. 16 grandsons of Noah. Nimrod is a subset of Cush. Shem first, Japheth, Ham last. IJK-rooted Y-chromosome tree. A, Phut, and B, Cush as derived. M91, M50, C, Nimrod. Akkadians, Olmecs, Polynesians, and Australians. D, Canaan, Sinite, Mitzrayim. I'm surprised he can't. I mean, he could if he wanted to, but I think he's trying to shorten it as much as possible. But he could put in Akkadians, Olmecs. Well, I mean, after I give him the information on Akkadians, but he could also put Olmecs, Polynesian, Australians, everywhere the C haplogroup is. But sometimes you have to guide him by the hand, lead him by the hand, and he'll find it. Okay. The F, IJ, and K, M9 as ancestral with the M68. So most of the population in the world has this M168 S&P marker. And I think even, I'm not sure for sure yet, but I think even the D and the E have the M168 marker. The only ones that don't have it are the A, Phut, and the B, Cush. So Phut has M91, Cush has M150. So what I believe happened was that everybody had this marker here, M168, and it got to Nimrod. Actually, Nimrod, Mitzrayim, and Canaan, all three had it. So all three of these had it, the M168 marker. But then when it came to Cush's younger brothers and the apparently later descendants of Phut, they no longer have this M168 marker. So they are the odd ones out. The change happened not with Nimrod. The change did not happen in Nimrod. The change happened with M168. I mean, with A and B, Phut and Cush. They're the ones that had the mutation, not the rest of the civilization. So they're the odd ones out. They no longer have this marker in their population. Okay. Shem's the oldest, 16 grandsons of Noah. Arphaxad is M429. Ancestor of Abraham, father Hebrews and Israelites. Supposed to be father of the Jews and Israelites, or Israel and Judah is what it's supposed to be. But he is the father of Hebrews as well as the Israelites. In fact, all Hebrews, all Arabs, all Jews, and Dan and Asshur, including Dan and Asshur. Dan I1, Asshur I2, and the Cohen J1P58. Okay, Arphaxad. But it wasn't the Cohens that founded the Israelite tribes. But anyways, so there is a difference between Judaic or Israelite. This is Israelite. J1P58 is the tribe of Levi, which is not Judah. But there's Arab lineages here too, because the Arabs are the same family as the Israelites. You know, paternally speaking, the Arabic population, whether Edomite or whatever, they belong to the IJ lineage as well. Except the I is farther removed from the Middle East, so they name it I1 and I2. So shared markers, M168, IJK, but I don't believe it has this. This is wrong. So I got Arphaxad does not have the M9. M9 is Japheth. Arphaxad has the IJK marker, which I think is M249. Yeah, Arphaxad doesn't have, I think only the Eurasians have the M9 in their population. 249 is IJ. Well, one of the markers is IJK. He shares the IJK marker with Japheth, obviously, because it's I, J, and K. It's an IJK marker. But this is the 249 is derived IJ, or it's the IJK, but M253, that's me, I1. M438, that's Asshur. And the Cohen modal haplotype, and Judah. In fact, this is probably the house of David and Solomon. M172, J2. That lineage. So, let's go through, what's this? We're already going through the sons. We got Arphaxad, we got Elam. Okay. And the way it fits, the evidence of how it fits is J1P58 is the Cohen Levites, Cohen priests rather. J2 in Levant, Anatolia. I1 Scandinavia, that's Dan's migration up to Denmark, the Danes, and I2 is Asshur, the Balkans, Anatolia. Asshur spread nature 2020. Balkans and then Anatolia. So that's the evidence right there of Asshur. If anybody has any doubt about Asshur being I2, well, Asshur spread where the I2 is very, very, very significantly in the population. So we learn something new every day. Elam is HM69. Civilization, Elamites from Iran founded Elam, Susa. Non-Semitic language, it doesn't matter. Of course, they're going to have a different language than the Akkadians. It's not even the same family. Okay, M168 is Noah. So Elam has, of course, M168 and his own marker, which is M89. M89 is a shared marker, which he shares, I guess, with all the other Shemites, or I guess everybody to the right of Aram. Let's see. Derived markers. This is one M69, one he got. M52 is H1. Loses there's IJK marker. So he loses M429. And I don't think he would have had the M9 anyways, because I think the M9 is strictly the Eurasians. Evidence: H in Iran, South Asia, Neolithic DNA science. Neolithic autosomal DNA science. Okay, so H is in Iran, South Asia, which is basically India, because that's where they are known to have moved anyway, as Dravidians or as Elamo-Dravidians. So they're known to be Elamites, and they're in South Asia, India, with the H haplogroup of Elam, because that's the only Semitic haplogroup in the area of the Elamo-Dravidians. And this thing, like, I always hear, there's R1 there too, and R1B or whatever. And yeah, but we know that's Eurasian, and we know that's not Elamite, so doesn't belong to Elam. Asshur is G, M201, Assyrians, Mesopotamia, founded Assyria Empire, Semitic language, because of course Asshur is Semitic. The Assyrians are Semitic. Shared markers: M168, M89. So there's that M89 still in the Assyrians. And derived markers: M201, M342, G2A, loses HIJK. So he loses the M69, the IJK marker M429, and the HIJ. So he loses the IJK marker, which is this one here, and he loses the HIJK marker, which is this one here. And this one never had, I don't think. Anyways, because that's only the Eurasians that have that, I'm pretty sure, because I never even seen it there before. And we'll ask him. I can ask him what's up with this M9. Isn't it supposed to be Eurasian? Evidence: G2A in Assyrian. Autosomal DNA nature. Okay. We have Lud. I've defined Lud as F undefined. It's got just M89. It's not, whereas Aram has this marker here. Lud is undefined, and they're very rare too, but they're spread between, say, Mesopotamia and India, because the Lydians had trade with India and the Arameans had trade with India. And it seems like the only remaining male population of the Lydians and the Arameans are by way of the trade that they had to India, which is rare. Okay. Core J2 belongs to Judah. And the I belongs to Dan and Asshur. Okay, so they say it's speculative, but it's not speculative, because if there is, even though it's rare, if it's there, it's a lineage and it's evidence. Arameans, F1 through 5, they have this marker, M365. So they're the Arameans and Syrians, and Syriac is a form of Aramean. Of course, these are the trade routes all the way to India. Syriac and Chinese are written on a stele together, which I haven't mentioned in this conversation, because every conversation, Grok has to learn everything all over again. Founded Aramean kingdoms, Damascus, Semitic language, Near Eastern influence. Shared marker, of course, this is the main marker. This is the Semitic marker, M89. And derived would be M365, that's F1. Or F1 P14, F2 M4227, F3 M428, and they lose the HIJK marker. I mean the GHIJK marker. So the GHIJK marker, which defines whatever, which defines or helps define the Assyrians, that GHIJK marker is lost. Okay. Evidence, F1 through 5 is rare. Syrian auto shows J1, J2. F1 is tentative. But again, even if it's rare, obviously you have 5 different S&P markers in this lineage of M89. So obviously it's evidence of a lineage that remains of the Arameans. Because who else would it be? That's the problem. Who else would it be? Who else would this one be? Because these are two separate lineages. This lineage here, even though it says F undefined or whatever, it's totally separate lineage from this F1 to 1 through 5. They're two totally separate lineages according to the Simmons Genome Project. Totally isolated, separate, which I've showed before. Japheth's sons, okay, now 7 grandsons. There's Japheth Tubal, KM9. Tabo. He always calls them Tabo for whatever reason. Tubal, Tabo, Caucasus, Anatolia, Caucasus. Okay, and Anatolia, they ended up in Italy as well. I believe they were in central Italy. Today, it's 8% to this day in central Italy. And I think they're linked to the Etruscans or whatever they are, or something like that, whatever it was in Italy. The ancient civilization. So M168, again, this is the IJK marker. Otherwise, so that is the IJK marker. Okay. Yeah, and then the M9 marker. So this is the IJK marker. But I'm going to have to straighten them out on this M9 because they have this M9 thing in the where do you got it? We got it here in the Lydians. You got M9, but is it in here? No, I forgot to put it. I forgot to put it in here. The M9 in here, which it doesn't belong here anyways. But anyways, yeah. But the M9 is Eurasian. And this is the M429, be the IJK marker. Derived marker is M9, of course, because that's the marker of the K. M175, M231. Okay, evidence. K in the Pacific Ocean, oceanic groups. Sparse Caucasian. Autosomal DNA. No, it's K is 8% of Italy's population, central Italy's population. But it is in oceanic groups as well. As a matter of fact, the M and the S, this M and this S actually branch off from the K. And the thing is, the M and the S are only found in Papua New Guinea. And the only haplogroup near the M and the S that's Japhethite is K, with the exception of maybe O, but O is a different lineage, or the NO, the NO group, which is Magog. That's, and it splits, of course, and the N's in the north, Siberia, and the O is in the south, East Asia, and it's a different lineage than the K. But the M and the S actually branch off from the K. And they're the only, K is the only lineage, basic main lineage in the area of the M and the S, and it's clear they branch off from the K. Evidence K in the Pacific Oceans, groups, sparse Caucasian, autosomal DNA, Science 2018. Okay, Tiraz is of the Thracians, Balkans. Probably more like 2000 BC. Balkans, warrior culture, Indo-European. This is important. There's a warrior culture, and it's because of Alexander the Great that this L went all the way to Europe. L in South Asia, Near East, Thracian, autosomal DNA, shows R1b, R1a, L tentative. Of course, we know the R1b and R1a is Riphath and Ashkenaz, the sons of Gomer. So they're already identified as the sons of Gomer. So it is a process of elimination once we know that the R and B are counted out. And then, so the L, since it was taken by Alexander to India because they were a warrior culture and they were utilized in Alexander's army, the Thracians. So that's why they're found in India, because Alexander wanted to ride elephants in India. So there's Magog, NO. It's N in Siberia and M175 in East Asia, but also, of course, Eastern Europe. Both the N and O are in Eastern Europe, as well as Meshech, P, is in Eastern Europe as well. So we see sometimes the K, the K, the N, the O, and the P of Meshech are found together in East Asia. So they tended to be together at times. Okay, so Madai, now we got Madai. Okay, let's talk about the P. The P wasn't on my radar screen because it's hardly ever mentioned, but since it is a lineage, it's in Eastern Europe and it's in East Asia as well. It's in both places. So it has to be a lineage, and it's a significant lineage. It has to belong to someone. And I recently assigned it to Meshech, and because the P is more in Eastern Europe, seemed more in Eastern Europe than even the N was of the Siberians. So since N and O are branch off together, then I assigned both the N and the O to Magog and the P to Meshech, because it has to fit somewhere, has to belong to somebody, and so that's why I'm more satisfied with it being assigned to Meshech. The P 295. And of course the Q is interesting as well. Let me see where the Frisians, the Cappadocians, Frisians, Indo-European Cappadocians, shared marker, and derived marker, specific markers are P and P1. So those are two branches off of P that make the P very significant, a significant lineage having to belong to somebody. P is supposedly ancestral to Q and R, rare in Anatolia, but it's not that it's ancestral, it's that they share a common ancestor, obviously, which is Japheth. Japheth is the common ancestor of P, Q, and R, because these are distinct. Q is distinct and R is distinct, which I was just about ready to explain. Q is very distinct, R is very distinct, and the P is distinct as well, like we just saw. because the P is in Eastern European and East Asia. So it's in the area of, say, Moscow or something like that. And it's also in East Asia because of the migrations. Now, Madai is unique, and it belongs to the Medes. And the interesting thing about Madai is that Madai also moved up into Europe, and everywhere that the Medes went were Madai, as the Bible refers to them. You know, sometimes the Bible refers to the people as their originator. The Bible talks about you don't have to be afraid of Nimrod anymore, but it was referring to the sons of Nimrod. Same thing with Israel. Israel is not referring to Israel, it's referring to sons of Israel. So they went into Europe and they have this X and W mitochondrial lineage that follows them into Europe, or that is in Europe, where the Medes went into Europe. Because of the fact that Madai asked to marry one of the daughters of Shem, the X and the W is a Semitic mitochondrial lineage, and it branches off from the A, which follows the Medes into the New World, or when they cross the Atlantic in the Americas. Okay, Q in Central Asia, Central America, but there is also a separate crossing of the Inuits, and maybe a couple more lineages after that, after the Inuits, or separate from the Inuits, say, that cross the Beringia Strait, or whatever it is, Beringia. But it's only the Inuits that cross there. The other ones cross by way of the Mediterranean through the Atlantic to Central America. And then from Central America, it's very clear they spread north and south from Central America. It's very, very obvious when you follow the lineages of the A haplogroup in America. And the Q, when you follow the QY haplogroup, it does has the same migration to America, goes to Central America, spreads north and south from there. Just like the A mitochondrial lineage does the same thing. Also, the C and the D Eurasian mitochondrial DNA lineages do the exact same thing in the exact same place. They go to Central America. They spread north and south from Central America, and significantly south, because south is where all those megaliths were made, from Central America. And of course, you have the Olmecs as well. So that even suggests that the C made the same migration as the C and the D Eurasian mitochondrial DNA, because the C and the D migrated to America before the Q did. That's very significant. So the Q migrated after the C and D mitochondrial lineages, because obviously, probably in all probability, it was the C of Nimrod, the CY haplogroup, that made the exact same migration to Central America, spreading north and south. And of course, you have the Olmecs, and you got the Nadene in North America, and you have the Waorani, the Quechuas, and the Wayus in South America with the CY haplogroup in their population. And of course, the Olmecs, since they resemble Polynesians and sometimes very African, that is very, very suggestive of the fact that they belong to the CY haplogroup of Nimrod. And the reason why they look like Polynesians is because they have the same ancestor as the Polynesians have, which is a different lineage in a different location, but they still have the same appearance because it's a mix of Nimrod and the Eurasians, or Nimrod and the descendants of Japheth. So they have the same appearance as Polynesians because they have the same ancestor as the Polynesians, which is the C haplogroup. C2 in the Pacific and C3 in America. They're two separate lineages, but they have the same appearance. So it's very, very telling, and it explains all the questions that all the anthropologists and archaeologists had or have had and probably still have, because they don't know about the descendants of Nimrod migrating to America very, very early on, which is what the Olmecs are. So we have Gomer, R, of course, and Gomer is in Europe. Gomer is known to have gone into Europe, so you get the evidence. R1b, Celtic DNA, R1a, Scythian, Eastern Europe, R2, South Asian, Anatolia. So the R2 is when it was South Asian, that's India, basically. And the R1a is obviously Ashkenaz, because that's what the Ashkenazi Jew recognized. They recognized the people or the land where they were at was the land of Ashkenaz. So that's why they call themselves Ashkenazi Jews. So that's R1a. R1b is to the south. That's Ripfath. Ripfath is known to have been in southern Europe. Ashkenaz in northern Europe. R2 is Togarma. He's in South Asia. And Anatolia too. Okay. That's good. Okay, so then we have Javan of the Mediterraneans. The Greeks and the Ionians and the Greeks and Mycenaean, Hellenistic code, Aegean, Sea. Of course, they have the same markers here, excluding this M9. That's not right. Oh no, that's right. What am I thinking? That's Eurasian. Of course, it's got the M9. Yes. Derived markers M70T. Then you got L131 is T1. So you have two main lineages there, apparently. But of course, Javan had four sons. One of them was in Tarshish of Iberia, and the other three were in Greece. Okay, so, and the Greeks did have trade. The Greeks did have trade with the Horn of Africa, and that's the T is prevalent in the Horn of Africa. Actually, more prevalent there than anywhere else. So that's because of the trade of the Greeks with the Horn of Africa, and also India as well. So the T's were basically the Mediterranean Sea people. And his other names, his other sons were Elisha, Dodanim, and Kittim, or Rodanim, sometimes called Rodanim, something like that, and Kittim. And they're in, of course, the Mediterranean, and they spread all the way to the Horn of Africa, all the way to India, as a matter of fact. I'm guessing by way of the sea because it's on the other side of India. The T is on the other side of India, so I'm guessing it's by way of trade. Same way as the Horn of Africa is by trade. Okay, so now we have the sons of Ham. A is M91, Libyans and Berbers, North Africa. But they were continually being pushed to the west and eventually a little bit to the south, or quite a bit to the south. So we have A is mostly in the west and south. And they like to say founded the Berber tribes. But today the Berber tribes consist of M81, which is Egyptian. So the Egyptians basically probably moved in the area and crowded the original Berbers, the original North Africans, the very first original Phoenicians. Comes from Phut in North Africa, according to Josephus. In North Africa was the original land of the Phoenicians, according to Josephus. And that's where the name is derived, but then the name, I guess, kind of like migrated over to Tyre and Sidon of the later Phoenicians. For whatever reason. I guess they just were sea people or something. I don't know. But anyways, or on the sea or something like that. I don't know. Anyways, they don't have the IJK marker anymore, derived from Noah. So there's a mutation with the younger lineage of the younger son of Noah that loses this IJK marker, and not only Phut, but also Cush. So that would suggest that the mutation occurred in Ham after, well, actually, no, it was because Nimrod got it from Cush. So Cush had it, but apparently both Cush and Phut lost the IJK M168 marker. So, okay, so you have A0 to T. That's supposed to be this marker here. According to this, is everybody's supposed to have it. A's from A0 to T. So everybody's supposed to have this M91. But it's like pulling teeth trying to get this information out of Grok, because Grok will say anything. It's hard enough to get him to, get them in the proper order, the birth order and stuff. So this P97 is A1B, and the M31 is the A1B1. And the evidence is the A1B in Berbers. Okay, so the A1B is in Berbers, Nilotic groups, rare. Because they were eventually pushed to the west and to the south. And they migrated to the south all the way to where the A is in the south. Or central and south, more central, I guess. But the Cush lineage is easy to identify as Cush because when you follow the migration of B, it starts out exactly in the land of Cush and spreads out from the land of Cush, spreads out from there. So that's an easy to identify B as being Cush. And of course, Nimrod being C is easy to identify too, because he's the only king of the world in Asia, right? Or Mesopotamia, Asia. He's the father of the Akkadians, Olmecs and Polynesians. So he founded the Nubian kingdom. Cush founded the Nubian kingdoms. His father Nimrod. Here it is. The C lineage founded Akkad, ruled Babel, Eric Akkad colony, according to Genesis 10:10. Migrated to Mesopotamia, or Mesoamerica, in the Olmecs, as the Olmecs in Polynesia, sharing the common ancestor, which explains a lot to me, anyways. I don't know if anybody else can see the correlation or not, but the Olmecs are obviously descendants of Nimrod. And I was just thinking the other day that the L lineage could have been in the population as well in Asia, except that it's possible for the L lineage to not be as prevalent and to disappear from the population, which is apparently what happened, because it's hard to believe that there was no L in Mesopotamia. But most of the L, obviously, the majority of the L went to Africa and remained in Africa. So he founded all these, and of course, Nimrod being the king, like a king, like what Israel wanted a king, with many wives, many concubines, had many offspring, which is the reason why C is so prevalent throughout the world, even though he's only a grandson of Noah. I mean, a great-grandson. Nimrod is a great-grandson, not a grandson. And yet his prevalence as king of the world mean that he reinforced his genetic lineage very, very, very much, so that in the Olmecs, the Olmec population had his resemblance there, as well as in Polynesia, because of sharing a common ancestor. Okay, shared markers. Okay, no IJK for B. 69 for Nimrod C, shared with Shem and Japheth, due to Nimrod being the oldest son of Cush. So at the time before Cush migrated, Cush had it, the IJK marker, and lost it. And apparently, it's apparent that A lost it as well. The A lineage lost it as well. Okay, these are the markers of Cush. These are the markers of Nimrod. C1, C3, or C3. But there's actually 5 separate lineages of C. It's C1, C2, C3, C4 in Australia, and C5 in Asia, or I guess India or somewhere near East India or something like that. Of course, the B2 Nilotic and Bantu populations. Sea and Horn of Africa, not a whole lot. It's mostly back migration. But that's possible. Possible is a forward migration in the Horn of Africa, Eurasia, Native Americans, Polynesians, and Australians. You have to remind him. Canaan, D. Before I had only the Sinites as D, but it seemed to make more sense that D is the entire lineage of Canaan, because D is still found in the Levant area, even though it's not very much. It's still more than E2. E2 is only found in Africa, so I changed my mind about E, made E entirely Mitzrayim, and I made D entirely Canaan, which makes a lot more sense. Probably. Okay, so Phoenicians, Canaanites, Levants, Sinites. Of course, we know the Andaman Islands, Andamanese. They landed in China first, then they went to Japan, and then to Tibet, then to the Altai Mountains, believe it or not. The D is in all those areas. So by way of the Sinite tribe. They left the land of Sinai, the land of sin, and they went all the way, migrated all the way east, giving China the name of Sino. The reason why you have Sino referring to China is because of the Sinites. And even the Bible says that the Jewish people will return to the land of Israel from as far as the land of Sinim, land of China. And if you look on the Silk Road, the Uyghurs are J2. The Uyghur population is the largest haplogroup in the Uyghur population is J2, which is Judaic. So it's on the Silk Road, and they have the Judaic Y haplogroup. And if I'm not mistaken, it's M172 as well, which would be descendants of David and Solomon. Okay, found the Phoenician city-states, migrated South Asia, China, Japan, Ainu, Tibet, Altai, namesake of Sino-China. They're in the Altai. The Altai Mountains, where the Denisovan cave is. That's where the Denisovan cave is. And I figured out a while back, the Denisovans are a mix of either this lineage of Nimrod, probably both lineages, and that's what a Denisovan is, because it's the darker colored Asian with a more African features. Those are the ones that have more in common with the Denisovan in the Altai Mountains. So it's so much that's explained that makes a whole lot more sense if you knew what the haplogroup lineages are, and we're able to follow the haplogroup lineages are, explaining who is who, explains all the questions that people have. Okay, so Canaan does have the M168. But not the IJK. The IJK only Arphaxad has. Only the first son of Shem, Arphaxad, who is the oldest, can share IJK marker with his uncle Japheth. Let's see. Derived markers. So this M174, that's Canaan. And this one is to M64, M174. This is probably identified first. Or I don't know. Anyway. Okay, D. Tibetan and Zainu Andamanese. They keep on going back. Well, the Levant DNA shows E1B1B. So, it's the land of Egypt. Egypt controlled that whole area, if you didn't know. It's all Mitzrayim. But D is the Canaanites. D is definitely the Sinites for sure, and probably all of Canaan is the D. Because they were in a bad area. They got pretty much wiped out of Canaan, even though they're still there in Canaan. D is still represented in the land of Canaan, or the Levant. Still there. You know, if it doesn't matter if it's rare. If it's there, it's evidence that it was there. There's no taking away from the fact that it was there. If there's even a trace amount of it there, it's evidence that the lineage is there or was there. So, Egypt, Mitzrayim is all of E. Then E1, E2, and E3 is all Mitzrayim. He had lots of sons, lots and lots of sons. Pretty soon I'm going to try to identify a couple. I've already identified a couple of Mitzrayim's sons, but I don't have it here. Maybe in this discussion I'll get to it. Okay, founded Egypt. And by the way, the mother of, you know what the mother of Mitzrayim is? According to some genealogy or something somewhere. The mother of Mitzrayim, her name is Egyptus. That's where the name Egypt comes from the mother of Mitzrayim. So, that explains that. See, found Egypt. Okay, the marker, of course, he also has the M168 from Noah, from Japheth, Shem, and Ham. So Mitzrayim has it, Canaan has it, the A and the B do not have it. For whatever reason, they're the odd ones out. Okay. This is E, M78, and there's a whole bunch of lineages. These are the main ones. M96, M78, M35. That was E1, E2, E3. It's all Mitzrayim. Evidence E1B1B in Egyptian DNA. Okay, grandsons, 5 from Shem, Arphaxad, Elam, Asshur, Lud, and Aram. 7 sons of Japheth, Tubal, Tiraz, Gomek, Meshach, Madai, Gomer, Javan. Ham had 4 sons, Phut, Cush, Canaan, and Mitzrayim, with Nimrod being the king of the world in Mesopotamia before they spread out, mind you, before all the migrations began. 16 grandsons and Nimrod under Cush. Okay. Then he makes a pretty chart for me. Grok made a pretty chart here. Let me see what this says. You got F15, F, G, H, I1, I2, J1, J2. And what's this supposed to mean? Wow, he just averages it out. That's okay. So the F has no GHIJK. It does have the M168 and the M365 and others. F2 has the M89, the 168, no GHIJK marker. Okay. So the G of the Assyrians does have the M168, no HIJK marker, but it does have the GHIJK marker, which everyone to the right also has, or except for not on this one, because this is the birth order, pretty much. So then we have Elam. Elam doesn't have the IJK marker, but it does have the M168 and the M69, which is unique to Elamites. Then we have Dan, M253, that's me. M168 is another one. I think there's another one too. Of course, there's others. But the M253 is me. The I2 is Asshur, just confirmed by Grok just now by some study that said they moved into the Balkans. Asshur, not to be confused with the descendants of Asshur, the Assyrians, which I confused it just today, I think, with Grok. And it got all mixed up again because I said something wrong. But, yeah, this is Asshur, the son of Israel, or son of Jacob. And so he's I2. Asshur is I2. Then you have the J1P58, the colon mode haplotype, the M168. And we have J2, which is M172. M168 is the shared marker. And then we got the K. K is M9. See, you got that right. You got it right here. But in other places, he accidentally added M9 to these populations. But here it's correct. M168. Elam 20, 168. P295, M168. Q. Okay, where we go? We got this is the Thracians. This is the Magog, Meshech, Madai. Wait, R1B. R1B is Riphath. R1A is Ashkenaz. R2 is Togarma. And the T is Eurasian. The T, of course, is Javan in the Mediterranean. Mediterranean Sea people, basically. M1 derived, A, no 168. M150 of Cush, derived, no 168. So they had a mutation where they lost the 168. So C is Nimrod, Olmecs, Polynesians, Australians. D is the Sinites, and E is Mitzrayim. Okay. Order notes, additional notes, limitations, CT, but the IJK marker is only unique. Only unique to Arphaxad and Japheth, his uncle. Okay, so I have the IJK root, A and B derived, marker lost. Consistent, but they diverge. Okay. So let me ask a question. First, let me go back here, see if anybody's here. I got all kinds of phone calls here. I got Dwayne. Dwayne's here. Let's see. Dwayne's been here for a long time. So there's Kev. I got Kevin Popel. You need J2 immediately before founded Israelites. M172. That's the Judaic. This is a Judaic lineage as far as I'm aware of. It's a Judaic, strictly Judaic. And this M172 here is specifically descendants of David and Solomon, as far as I can tell. There's Dwayne. Doing well. Yep. Evolution so far from science, it's magic. The magic is closer. We got, and that is a basic fact. That's a fact. Nimrod, previous Antichrist figure, yes, he was, had problems with Abraham himself, had a run-in with Abraham himself, and God, of course. Tried to bring in one world order at Tower of Babel. Yeah, the whole history of mankind is basically trying to bring in a one world order. Nimrod was a giant, probably was huge. It's this rebellious lineage. In fact, his descendants were forever wreaking havoc in the entire world and a big problem for Israel as well. That's Nimrod and Assyria together. Be the future Antichrist. I mean, oh no, it could be. The way some of them are going, I mean, it's hard to say. I'll put enmity between thee and the woman, between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. Well, when dogs have compassed me, the assembly of the wicked have enclosed me. They pierced my hands and my feet. Yep. And I saw one of his heads, as it were, wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world wondered after the beast. Okay. Still here. I'm still here. True. Okay. So I'm going to ask some more questions of Grok. I might as well take advantage while I'm at it. And I'll just go ahead and say, isn't M9X whoops. Oh. Okay. I lost it. And there was something else I wanted to ask. That would be, or just say why. Okay, YC and YK. Anything else? Oh, I don't want to get into the mitochondrial yet. Just go with this, I guess, see what happens. Okay. Where'd it go? Okay. Thank you for additional details and questions. Your input refined the framework. You raised two key points. Well, the M9K haplogroup is exclusive to descendants of Japheth, and that Australians, likely referring to Aboriginal Australians, carry C and K haplogroups. I'll address these in the existing framework, which includes 16 grandsons known for sons of Ham, Cush, Mitzrayim. Okay. Once it get tired, it gets tired after a while. There's a Simmons Genome Diversity Project. YFull is another DNA study, and aDNA, which is autosomal DNA. And this one is a DNA study using genetic data. So previously, M9 was assigned to Japheth descendants 2 located with Arphaxad and retaining IJK. Well, he has the M for 249. But you're supposed to know that M9 isn't a part, anyways. Your question should be exclusive to Japheth, meaning Arphaxad's IJ, Dan Asshur, would retain. Yeah, we retain this, but we lack this. Right. Yeah, keeping the M, keeping that, and the M168. Right. So this is the IJK marker, and Elam loses this marker here. This is the marker that Elam loses. Anyways, it's hard to figure out when you're talking to Grok because he mixes stuff up all the time. Okay. Aboriginal Australians, of course, include the C, the K, includes something. Okay. Adjustment, he's going to make adjustments. 16 grandsons, biblical order, Arphaxad. There we go. Okay, so probably correct. He corrected it's just this one, the M253, the M438 of Asshur, the P58 of the Cohens, and the M172 of David. Yeah. Okay, so that looks good. All right. The Elamites lost the IJK, but they have their own marker, or yes, his own marker, M69 derived, but also has the M89. Now this M89, is that in Arphaxad as well? No, it's not saying. Well, it's not saying M89. No M9. That's Japheth exclusive. But no M89 either. Well, why has it got? Now I don't know who has the M89. I think the M89 is shared too. I think it's shared by all the Semitic populations. Anyway, these are derived. H and H1, they lose. Lost the M9. Well, they didn't never have it, or Arphaxad didn't have it. Shem didn't have it. Shem doesn't have M8 and M9, as far as I can tell. Oh, Asshur G, Mesopotamian. Did I forgot to Or am I still sharing? Yeah, I'm still sharing. Okay. Okay. Okay, here we go. Those cereals prove Satan's offspring is coming Antichrist. The verses prove. Okay. Predictive test. That is why the Jewish people and Arabs are fighting. But the interesting thing is that the Iranians are largely, almost half the population is J2 or a G or something relating to the Jewish or Israelite population. Almost half the population of Persians in Iran. So it's J2 fighting against J2. There's two populations of J2 fighting against each other, which is the worst thing of all. But hopefully things will change. I'm starting to have hope for the Persian people that they will be free from the tyrants that are ruling over them with an iron fist. And that would be great, because the Persian people are very intelligent, industrious, all those things, and they're being held back by their so-called leadership. It's just not their choice of leadership, is what it's a leadership that has been forced on to them. So hopefully things are going to change for the better. Okay, so and Israel, it turns out that Israel is larger than what people. So Israel is larger than what people realize. But that's been good today so far. It's been good discussion, at least in my own mind. So God bless everyone. It's amazing how everything fits together so well, with the haplogroups fitting perfectly the actual lineages of human population today. And the 16 grandsons of Noah, the lineages of the 16 grandsons of Noah, who became the 16 ancient original civilizations that we are all descended from. Yep. God bless you, Brother Dwayne. And God bless everybody who watches this stream in the future. And I'm out.